This is going back to where we were previously. It's not making a significant.
If I could add one more thing to your question, just to close it out, just another good example is the outsourcing of new paraprofessional positions. My understanding is that they come outsourced, they don't come with TRS. So now you stand a chance of attracting individuals who may not want to come and be a paraprofessional in the district because they would not have TRS under an outsourced model.
Ms. Johnson?
I'm just wondering the feel of the staff. I don't know if they know this yet, but I'm just wondering what would be the feel of the staff and the community with these reductions.
I'm not gonna put anybody on the spot, but I know my staff, and I can just see responses inside the room. And I wanna make sure that they know that, this is a response to a question. And I do believe that this will start raising some questions about, okay, what's the direction of the organization? And what we do plan to do is, ensure after this that we huddle up with our staff just to keep them up to speed in terms of all of the things that we're answering in this budget season so that they understand the direction that we're going in. As far as the community is concerned, I have to get more information, but I do know, respectfully say that the community or anybody who doesn't work for the organization really doesn't understand this work because they don't do it. And so we're always up against an opinion of, and I love my community, but a community who does not understand this work. If I were not here, I'd be part of the people who didn't understand the work. So it's important that we account for where our staff is, because if there's anything I want to do, and I want to pause for a minute, because I want to thank this board. And as I think about last year, it was a tough budget decision, but you decided to, and you approved a salary increase. So I know where the board feels in terms of this staff. And I think it's important to note that even during this difficult time. But we'll do more work in terms of assessing everybody's specific concerns, because it's important we're responsive to that. All the way up to the budget approval and even beyond that.
Thank you.
Ms. Hamlin?
I just want to say thank you for being, and thank you, finance team, for being so responsive to our questions and the things that we are looking for and the ways that we are trying to get expenses to meet B revenue, and appreciate your efforts, appreciate your focus on the schools and the children, and just want you to know that your efforts are greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman?
Thank you for this. This is what I've been looking for. I have felt a little bit through this particular budget season. We've been given a lot of information. I don't feel like we've had as much opportunity as a board to be given options. In the past, we have had budgets presented and we've had proposals, and there have been some things where there's been give and take regarding what was recommended versus what we could do, and the board has worked out some different options. I'll be honest, at the last meeting, I felt like we didn't have any options. It was, here's the recommendation, take it or leave it, and I did not like the take on it because it had a huge deficit. I didn't know how we funded it. And that, I understand that this is not a recommendation and that this is not an option that is being proposed by the district, and I appreciate that. At the same time, I want to know what our options are, even the ones that you don't like and you don't recommend. And I know this was a hard ask for the finance department, for the district, and the superintendent because of what this will serve. Because our very first budget discussion included class furloughs on the very last page of a memo, and that was all that the news reported. And I hate to see what the news is going to report about this, despite all that you have said, Dr. Sims. So I anticipate what's going to happen. But at the same time, this question was asked, and I appreciate our president for putting forth these questions. because we need to have some uncomfortable conversations. We need to figure out how to get where we need to be. The biggest problem I have is that we roll back the millage rate every year that I've been on the board. And we've had this over our head idea that we do not have properly right-sized schools, and it is costing us money. And that we either need to consolidate, rezone, or both to try and get, if not all, more of our schools where we can maximize funding. And the first time I voted to not roll back was 2 years ago. And that's when we started our consolidation study. And I did that in anticipation that that would lead to us consolidating the school. And we didn't do that. Last year, I again voted that we would not roll back the millage rate, we would keep it where it was, because we'd started our efficiency study and our rezoning study. We still have not implemented anything from those 3 studies. And so I keep telling the public, yes, we're doing this, but yes, we're also doing the hard work to answer that question we've had and that problem we've had since I've been on the board. And here I am 6 years in, and we haven't consolidated a school, we haven't rezoned a school, and we have done stellar work in cutting expenses of the budget. Every year, y'all come in with where you have found places you can cut, and I commend you for that. But all the public sees is, you've got these schools that are under 450, and you need to right-size it, and if you don't, it's costing us money. And you keep asking us about taxes, but you haven't done your part. And so I know we can't close the school today and fix this problem. But the point of this exercise, and especially if you look at the overview of the, I've got 3 pages worth of questions that the board members sent. The thing I keep saying is, what is the plan? What is if we're gonna ask the taxpayers to do more, which is ultimately what this leads to, if we're gonna pass a budget that can't be sustainable past this year, what is the future plan? And I don't have the answer. I have the answer that we're trying to figure it out, and that we've gotten some recommendations, but I still don't have the confidence of what's gonna happen next year to solve the problem. And I wish I did. I wish I could say we were further along. I understand it takes a while, but we have been working on this problem, and it takes a while, and I still don't have an answer. And I can't give the public an answer other than we're trying. So I appreciate this. I appreciate that there are some things that the board may decide that we should implement, even not recommended. But all of that and all the uneasy conversations and all the uneasiness that the public is gonna hear when they see this in the news, understand this from the point of view that we've got a big problem that we didn't create. The state has continually given us these unfunded mandates, but we gotta figure out how to solve them. And some of these things I think are possible. But at the same time, I see things like class size waiver, and I think our job is to educate children. That looks like a minimal impact, and it looks like, $3.8 million we could save from a purely dollar point of view. That sounds great. And then I think about the kids and what it takes to educate the children. And my child who's in a class, and if we added 2 more kids to that class, how much less instruction time would he have that he needed because of those 2 more kids? And so there are no easy answers. Throw these numbers up. Anybody can jump on any one of them and say, do all these things, and that gets us halfway through our desk. But at the same time, I appreciate you putting the prayer for that. It is real. And I don't have an answer. I would like to know, from the district, from the superintendent, I don't have to know today, but when we get ready to vote on the budget, I would like some proposals beyond the recommendation. And I would like those proposals to be in the order that you think would be the most impactful on the budget, and the least impactful on the educating our children. And even the ones that you're not strongly recommended, I'd like the board to be able to be in that position to say, these are the things I think we should do, the things we shouldn't do. You know why. And we'll let that go. But I know this isn't a recommendation. But it is kind of
Yes, sir, thank you, but if I could just briefly respond, we will be prepared to do exactly that. And the purpose of today, I wanna make sure I'll call these responses for discussion. So it's important that we hear from you today, and we'll have some one-on-one discussions as well, so that because I know whatever recommendation that I bring forward, that will be something that we all live with, this year coming up. And as a governance team, I wanna make sure we're all on the same page in terms of our ability to implement said recommendation and maintain the viability of our district at the same time. That is definitely at the forefront of my decision-making. And while I have the floor, in response to the taxpayer concern, my primary concern is and will always be the needs of our students. And I hope and pray one day we can get to the point where all of our taxpayers recognize the public school system as a viable piece of the community that needs the support necessary for the education of all students. I don't know if everybody's there, because I often hear, until this, until that, and this is a major operation that we're running. And even as with the example of the potential of consolidating schools, if you look at that in comparison to our deficit, that will help. And we're in a space now, and again, the reason why we bring these potential reductions in several areas with the associated threats, we're talking about a multi-dimensional approach at this point, because we've rolled back taxes, and because we rolled back the millage rate, and because we've maintained the millage rate over years, and we've shown in the past how we compare to similar sized districts and really millions and millions of dollars that we have not levied in comparison to other sized districts. And all that's had a pinch on us, in addition to everything that's happened up to this point. Also, it's important that everybody understands, just as an example, 2024, we sunset ARP funds. If y'all recall that time, these are some other significant factors to what we're talking about right now. When we surrendered those ARP funds, we didn't take on the whole lion's share of what those funds accounted for. We trimmed significantly in that space. The next year, we brought you, I wanna say it was $5.6 million in identified cuts. The next year, we brought a net budget cut of, I wanna say around $800,000, but that was also a year when we saw it necessary to do something in the space of remaining competitive. And we've been able to retain staff because we remain relatively competitive. So that was the lion's share of the increase. I say all that to say that we've had more additions that were necessary or mandated than we've had things that have been voluntarily added over the course of these past few years. So I wanna make sure the community hears that we've been diligent in terms of not just grabbing stuff for grabbing's sake and looking carefully at the dollar, but also ensuring that what we do is in the need and in response to the needs of our students and the needs of this district during difficult financial times. Thank you so much.
Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Now, I too want to express my gratitude for the work you have put into answering these questions. Now, I know what you're doing is difficult. You have some very difficult challenges before you. I think it's incumbent upon all of us, especially us board members, to educate the public. Because when I'm out in the communities, just for example, one day I was taking my car to be serviced, and I had asked for some transportation home. And the person who provided transportation, this was last year, said, I'm mad at you. I said, why are you mad at me? Because you're a board member. Okay, so why are you mad at me? Because y'all raised our taxes. So I said, well, do you have an idea of how these schools are funded, how our teachers get paid, and how we can keep the school system functioning? And he said, no. I said, well, I would say it comes from your tax dollars. The tax dollars are what fund these schools. It doesn't happen through osmosis. And a lot of people just feel like the money drop out the sky from somewhere. They really don't understand where these funds are coming from. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us to educate our community as to where the funds come from and how we keep our schools open. Just for example, school board members, we asking all these questions about how the schools are funded because we didn't know and we on the board. So if we don't have the answers and we're on the board, how the community gonna know? So I personally feel we need to do a better job on letting the community know what we are doing and what it costs to do what we do. Now, I've been in the school system all my life, from age 21 to now. I'm not gonna tell you my age. But even when I was in the school system, I didn't fully understand how the schools were funded. So if I'm an educator and I'm running a school and I don't fully understand how these schools are operated, how are we gonna know? Now, I hear a lot of talk about consolidating schools. And I've asked the question over and over about what would we save in consolidating the school? What kind of money we put back on the table for, let's take one school for example. What kind of money we put back on the table for consolidating one school? I haven't got a full answer on that one yet. They said it'll be a savings, but is it gonna be a saving? That's gonna really be a saving? Would it matter? Is it a very mediocre saving or would it be a huge saving? Would it be enough of a saving for us to take away the school in that particular community? You know, that's an important concern of mine. I don't want us to consolidate schools just to consolidate schools. While one part of the community is saying consolidate the school, and the other part of the community is saying, don't bother my school. That bothers me. But I think we need to hear from all the people involved. We need to hear from them. The ones who say consolidate the schools, the ones who saying don't consolidate the schools. Because we are all taxpayers. Everybody is a taxpayer. So that money concerns all of us. And these children are our children. Whether we want to believe it or not, they're our children. And the public school has to take everybody who knocks on our door. We can't say, you're not gonna come in, I'm not gonna let you in. We have to take every soul that knocks on our door. And we have to be in a position to educate them. That's my say.
All right, Ms. Garrett, Dr. Garrett, what's your?
I had one more question. The central office furlough, that involves everybody that works in central office, including administrative support.
It's not just central office, it's anybody in the district with 200 days or more is in that calculation.
So that would actually.
There's not many outside of it, could be, non-instructional.
Non-instructional, okay, gotcha.
All right, any other questions, board members? I do have a couple of things. Mr. Bush, other systems are dealing with the exact same thing we are. Is that a fair statement?
I would agree.
Okay, all right. Anybody who's been around education long enough remembers austerity cuts. You know, what systems had to do to try to deal with that. I think, and I'm guilty of this too, we have been hoping that at some point the state would value what we do more. Unfortunately, when they do give us money, we have to do, it costs us money in addition to that. So I think we're sort of in almost a perpetual state of austerity cuts, as weird as that may sound. I've said there are only two reasons you do things. One's because you want to, and the other's because you have to. And we've had tools now, the efficiency study, the rezoning, redistricting study that tells us that business as usual is no longer sustainable. We can't tax our way out of our situation. We have to make fundamental changes in how we deliver education in this system. And I think it is incumbent upon us, not upon us, the school system, the board, to communicate a plan that will show how we're going to right-size the system, implement efficiencies that make us better, anything we can do that will be more fiscally responsible at the same time without compromising education in the classroom. The sooner we do that, the better off we are. I think before you ask people for increased tax dollars, you've got to show what you're doing in order to deal with the problems you have, as well as what you're saving in the budget you're asking the board to approve. And I think one thing I've heard that I bristle at a little bit, that some of these things might help the problem, they won't solve the problem. Well, if it helps reduce cost and it doesn't compromise the delivery of education in the classroom, why aren't we doing it? Every dollar helps. When you're at home and your budget increases, your expenses increase, and you have the same amount of money, you do what you gotta do. You adjust, you cut back on things. But we don't have a choice. We have to solve the problem. We can't wait for Atlanta to fix it for us. Everybody else is in the same boat, except maybe Houston County because they have a dedicated sales tax that they can use to pay for operations. But everybody's suffering. We see it in the news every day. And so we don't have a choice anymore. And I get it, it's easy, and I'm guilty of this too. It's easy to kick the can down the road a little bit because folks complain less that way. We don't have any choice anymore. People are enduring pain out there right now. And we have to be in there with them. If we're gonna ask them for more potentially, we have to show what we're doing as well. And we simply can't wait anymore. We've got to do what we've got to do to make this the most efficient administration and school system that we can. And if it means if we take some public hits on this, so be it. That's why we got elected. But we have to get something. There's simply no more time to wait. I want to end with one thing. I sincerely appreciate Dr. Sims, Mr. Bush, your team, the people who have responded to a lot of questions, and thank you, Mr. Cream, for identifying that most of them came from me. So, but most of them. But a lot of them, but board members have contributed as well. I appreciate that. These are good questions. It's information we need. So congratulate them. Thank you for the work that you all have done to respond to us. I really do appreciate it. It's helping me make the best decision I can. But it's clear we have to do some things now. We don't have a choice. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, thank you, Board President Morton, and I appreciate hearing from all of the board members in this space. It is very helpful, and we definitely hear the charge and understand the charge to come with a plan. I do want to say, just to be clear, when we came for the tentative budget adoption, we put a lot of work into what we brought you, and while it came with that deficit, that is what we brought in order to save, in order to minimize, not have any further threats to this organization. Here is what we need. Today what we bring are options, and I will say that as we bring a plan that considers any of these options, just know that the option that we will bring will come with threats. And we'll gather ourselves to manage those threats as best as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Sims. Anything else, board members? Yeah, Mr. Bush, go ahead.
Just one thing, you should have before you a timeline of things we need to get put in place, and I just kind of want to go through that. If we have a budget adoption next Tuesday that is successful, it will put in motion some events. So we would have to hold 2 public hearings, but I want the board to understand in lieu of that, and it's not putting pressure, I want y'all to make the best decision you can. But we have to advertise a week in advance of each public meeting, and the print only prints on Wednesdays. So that constrains us to pushing us to the very limit of the month in order to get this budget passed successfully. Just want to put that in front of you. That page gives you a lot better outline on those dates and our requirements. If we can't get it, okay, we'll get it to you. If we can't get it passed by the end of the month, we will have to do that 112 spending resolutions, and we can continue operations.
Yeah, if you guess just go ahead and get that to us, because I don't see it. Anything else?
No, sir, thank you so much for the time.
I just want to say one thing before I ask for motion to adjourn. We've been in the middle of graduations this week. This is the time of year where I get most excited. It's so just jazzy to see those kids excited to graduate from our schools, and it re-energizes me. So I like it. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Ms. Johnson, second by Mr. Freeman. Any discussion?
Sir, I apologize, just one thing, we'll send everything that you have electronically, so you have, electronic copies. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, those in favor of the motion, let me know by the word aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. There is none. We're adjourned at 9:58 a.m. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
May I ask my team, that's everybody, all employees, to meet me in my conference room, please? Thank you.